Good afternoon. Welcome to the special forum of the City Club of Cleveland. My name is Dick Pogue. I'm president of the City Club, and today it's my great honor to introduce our speaker, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. There's not much new that I can say about Jesse Jackson that's not generally known, because virtually everybody in this country and indeed throughout the world knows that for the past 30 years or so, he has been one of America's foremost political figures. He's played a pivotal role in many of our country's key issues involving empowerment, peace, civil rights, gender equality, economic and social justice, and similar concepts. And of course, as has been mentioned, his most recent wonderful triumph was in leading the negotiation in Belgrade to obtain the release of 3 American servicemen. There is one unexpected fact, for me at least, that's come to my attention, and that is that Reverend Jackson, who was a native of South Carolina, originally attended the University of Illinois on a football scholarship. Later, he attended Chicago Theological Seminary until he joined the civil rights movement full-time in 1965. He served as an assistant to Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., and then in 1971 founded PUSH, People United to Save Humanity. In 1984, he founded the National Rainbow Coalition, which is a social justice organization devoted to political empowerment, education, and changing public policy. Recently, the Rainbow Coalition and PUSH merged to become Rainbow PUSH Coalition. Reverend Jackson, of course, is a highly respected world leader, a 2-time presidential candidate, an inspiration to youth, a renowned orator, and an accomplished author. The City Club is very proud to say that today is the 6th time that Reverend Jackson has graced our podium, and I am greatly honored to have the opportunity to present to you one of America's greatest leaders, Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Thank you. Let me express my thanks and my delight for again having this very special and glorious opportunity to speak to the City Club, this open and free forum, which has such an impact upon local, state, and national dialogue. I want to express my thanks to my friend and brother with whom I've struggled across these years, a co-worker with Dr. King, one of the founders of our organization, esteemed pastor in Cleveland, Reverend Otis Moss from Olivet. Please stand. And his wife and my sister, Edwina, won't you please stand? Give her a hand, please. Thank you. I want to express my thanks to a friend with whom we've worked for so long now, who was one of the guiding forces in the political renaissance in Cleveland and around the nation, who was my '84 campaign manager, Mr. Arnold Pinckney. Please stand. We're here today as the guests of the National Association of Securities Professionals, which is led by one of the distinguished leaders of this century, the leader of the Little Rock Nine, Ernie Green, is now leading this organization. Ernie, please stand. Ernie Green. On this faith journey to Yugoslavia to seek to break the cycle of pain and violence and to set the captive free, there was a powerful Cleveland connection until the very last moment. Reverend Otis Moss was to be with us, but because of family matters at the very end could not go. But the foremost authority on the trip on Serbian religious affairs, history, and culture, with whom I've done several international television shows. He is perhaps the foremost religious authority and held in the highest esteem in the Serbian Orthodox Church, one of our delegates from Cleveland, so put him in all future resolutions. Father Irenae, please stand. And of course, my sister, beloved and co-warrior and resident militant Joan Brown Campbell, please stand. It's a delight and a joy to share with you again on this historic occasion in the hour of so much tension and crisis and yet possibility. I just want to, as a backdrop to that which I will share with you today, read from you from the 15th chapter of St. Luke, just these 6 verses. Then drew near unto him all the publicans and sinners to hear him. And the Pharisees and scribes murmured. That's the press, by the way. This man receiveth sinners and eateth with them. And he spake this parable unto them, saying, What man of you, having 100 sheep, if he lose one of them, doth not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after that which is lost until he finds it? And when he hath found it, he layeth it on his own shoulders, rejoicing. And when he cometh home, he calleth together his friends and neighbors, saying unto them, Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep which was lost. I say unto you that likewise the joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that repenteth more than over 99 just persons which need no repentance. The challenge of the American dream and the moral imperative, the challenge of the American dream and the American moral imperative. We said to Milosevic in our session as we sought to seek the release of the Americans held captive, at a critical crossroad, you must turn your pain into power and choose with your power to go forward by hopes and dreams and not backwards by recycled pains and memories. Forward by hopes and dreams and not backwards by recycled memories and pain. Our best days are in our dreams in front of us. And yet, the gravitational pull of yesterday's pain and memories seem not to let us go. There is this struggle forward by hopes and dreams. That which ought to be is not yet. That faith thing, that substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen, are a recitation of pains and memories. Yesterday in Washington, Rosa Parks was given the Congressional Medal of Honor. What a journey from handcuffs in Montgomery to the Medal of Honor in Washington, but a 44-year struggle from handcuffs to golden medals. Even as we meet today, about 2 hours ago, Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in jail, was able in time to turn a jail cell into a museum, and the prisoner became president. And then with an orderly transfer of power, in his right mind and consciousness, transferred power to Mbeki today about 2 hours ago. Forward by dreams and hopes, not backwards by recycled pain and memories. There is this challenge to dream. It's easier to remember than to dream because there is no danger in remembering. So we can talk about the struggle of 1955 because it's non-threatening. Or the march we did engage in Montgomery or Washington some time ago, or some act of bravado or courage yesterday, because there is no threat, there is no challenge, there's no transforming power in looking back. So they can honor Rosa Parks for when she sat down 44 years ago, but she gets up and says, I thank you for the medal, but what about a living wage for the people of Appalachia? What about equal funding for public education? What about the vulgarity of second-class schools and first-class jails? What about adequate housing for every American? What about a comprehensive health care for every American? What about every 6 hours a coal miner dies from black lung disease? What about 1,500 Americans die every day from cancer? What about updating my act of 44 years ago and give me justice, not just a medal? Then she would be a little less welcome dreaming than remembering. Dr. King said, I take no pride of authorship in this dream. My dream is rooted deeply in the American dream. And there's such misappropriation of his words and intent every January and February. I thought I would set the record straight today. What is the dream? Not some idle dream, not some non-threatening air blowing through one's mind because you got indigestion, you ate too late, and you slept too early. Not that kind of dream of undigested food. Dream. This capacity that only man has, that low animals don't have. Dogs can't dream. Lions can't dream. Elephants can't dream. We alone have this capacity to look beyond ourselves, look back and cast judgment. We can dream. We can imagine beyond our predicaments. And so John could be on an Isle of Patmos, trapped in mess and mud and scorpions, and dream of a new heaven and a new earth, could see beyond the circumstances, this dream. And so when you dream this way, dream busters kill dreamers. Joseph dreamed, and his brothers said, let's see if he keeps dreaming when we killed him, sarcastically, as they schemed to kill the dreamer. And yet, while we plot to kill the dreamers, when our fears are over, we rush to honor them for having dreamed. And so today we honor Rosa Parks. Yesterday we put her in jail. Today we honor Dr. King. Yesterday we say it was a threat to national security. Today we honor Mandela. And yesterday we said Mandela was a terrorist. Today we honor dreamers. Today we want to hear Muhammad Ali talked when he could no longer talk. When he could talk, no one wanted to hear anything he had to say. As he said, steady war no more. And so dreamers often face the challenge of dream busters. What is the American dream? It is a one big tent dream. For all of us fit on the one big tent and none are in the margins. In the one big tent. Many races, many places, many faces, not bound by religion or language. The price of admission is not color, not bloodline. The price of admission is that you yearn to breathe free, yearning for freedom. And the will to dignity is the price of admission. This American dream, it has 5 basic promises. Equal protection under the law, equal opportunity, equal access, fair share, and the concern for the least of these are the lost sheep. There is this dream driven by the moral imperative. Dreamers keep pushing us beyond our comfort zone. Dreamers dare us to be maladjusted lest we find the bright morning of justice. Most people adjusted to slavery. When Dred Scott dashed off the plantation, it was not a committee. Most folk adjusted and rationalized one of these days. Most folk adjusted to segregation. Rosa Parks was run out of town by other ex-slaves. Most adjusted to denial of the right to vote or restricted housing. And yet dreamers remove the doubts and fears and petition. Now, we honor them in stone and stature. But in their lives, they face the slings and arrows of the frightened dream busters. In some ways, we are today in the 4th stage of our struggle to make this a more complete union. If I were writing a freedom symphony, I would make the case that there are 4 movements in a symphony. The first movement, a very traumatic movement in slavery. 200 years, African descendants subsidized America's development. 20 years of work without wages is a subsidy. 20 years of raw materials below market price. Africans subsidized America, America subsidized Europe. Africa is the creditor. We are the debtor. Goree Island preceded Ellis Island. We celebrated Ellis. We got our wealth from the Goree Islands, and we shall know the truth. It shall free us and make us feel better about ourselves. And so, the first movement we had to go through was to end slavery. We could not be a great nation and a slave-holding nation. Today we look back upon it with so much shame we deny it. The second movement was to end legal segregation, to end legal apartheid, to take out of our Constitution laws that limited access to the American dream by virtue of the birth of race. But those who dared to bring down that petition faced assassinations and church bombings. The third movement was to acquire for all Americans the right to vote. But the fact is, you could have an end to slavery, an end to legal segregation, the right to vote, and starve to death. There's the fourth movement, is access to capital. Access to capital. This stage makes for a more perfect union when we all have access to capital. We must be maladjusted until all included, none are left behind, walls are replaced with bridges, and the playing field is even. Access to capital, an even playing field in the matter of capital. I was in Cleveland with Dr. King in 1966. We walked the streets of Huff, walked these streets with Reverend Hoover, and walked these streets with Carlin Lou Stokes, and walked these streets trying to do a registration drive just coming out of Selma, Alabama. And that time we said in Cleveland we're beyond slavery, beyond segregation, but we need political access. And so we organized, is it the 21st District? Organized the 21st District for the third stage struggle to register, vote, build coalition where unions and a multi-ethnic city could find common ground and rise above race and choose a mayor who could represent their interests, their converging interests. And so Cleveland became the first major city to, in fact, accomplish stage 3. Carl Stokes became mayor of this city. And so across the nation, Cleveland set the pace. It could happen because it happened in Cleveland. Cleveland hit the mountaintop, the third stage. But now, 33 years later, the new skyline from airport to the riverfront, those who led stage 3 do not own one downtown building. Not one radio station. Not one television station. Not one athletic team. The only company that picks up the trash in the ghetto. You could have an end to slavery, segregation, the right to vote, and still starve. What's involved in stage 4? Opening up access to capital to all Americans. There's been so much time lost in the last few years on race dialogue as opposed to economic dialogue, on feelings rather than sharing, on attitudes rather than behavior. If the power changes, behavior and attitude will change. Rosa Parks refused to go to the back of the bus, and the bus driver read the sign above his head that said colored seat from the rear, whites from the front. Those who violate will be punished. And so his behavior was determined by the law. And those sitting next to her, behind her on the bus, they didn't like it because she broke the law, and the police arrested her because the law said arrest her. And so when the law changed and the sign came down, the bus driver's behavior changed. And other riders had the choice of riding with her or walking, and they chose to ride. And so when the law changed, behavior changed, and then attitudes changed. And so the gap between Cleveland and the locked out, between Cleveland and the 33 Appalachian counties in Ohio is a structural gap, not just an emotional color gap. The reality is Appalachians in Ohio. 33 Appalachian counties in Ohio. The poorest funded schools are in Appalachia. Hardest working, poorest people in Appalachia. People living in trailers so often. They're going to school in trailers. First to serve in the war. Work 2 miles beneath the ground for the coal that provides our energy. Every 6 hours a coal miner dies from black lung disease, and yet somehow they can't have fundraising parties. They don't have big TV stations, and they're left behind. And of the Appalachian people too, lest we forget, if you watch TV enough, you think most poor folks are black and urban or brown, but most poor folks are white, female, young, and invisible and unrepresented. But then the lost sheep parable burdens us to look at sheep in the dark. Not necessarily the dark sheep, just sheep in the dark where there is no light. Shall we just talk about skin color? I think not, because when they leave with a 2-lane highway in Appalachia, when they close your steel plant in Cleveland, your rubber plant in Akron, they cut the lights out. When the lights go out, you can't use color for a crutch. We look at Mason Assembly in the dark. In the dark, the issue is not black and white, it's dark and light, it's wrong and right. We must turn the lights on. We have the moral obligation to turn the lights on. When I was growing up in South Carolina, part of our folklore was one time there were 2 drunks drinking wine, sitting on the railroad track. Before crack and dope and all this stuff, the wine was a heavy situation at that time. And they were sitting out there drinking wine at 11 o'clock, and the more wine they drank, the better they felt. When they felt so good, they couldn't take it no more and got close to what is called the corner. That is a very intrinsic part of the wine situation, the last corner, the drip, drop, they call it. Now, you who laugh at that, you age yourself, but it's a cultural thing, the corner. And so when they were drinking wine and the wine was tasting good and they were feeling better and feeling lighter, and the black and the white was talking, one wino said to the other, "Think I buy this railroad track?" Other wino said, "I don't think I want to sell it, have a drink on me." Ha, 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 ha. The fact is, until the man or woman who owns a railroad track or the train is at the table, it's just a dialogue about nothing. And to those who have the power are at the table, it's a dialogue about nothing. What shall we do to bring down the economic partitions, the apartheid? What shall we do to move from mutual disadvantage to mutual advantage? When walls come down, everybody grows. Today, in South Africa, Mbeki said that while the last focus is on reconciliation between races, we must now speak of reconstruction and economics. So we spend a lot of time, that's why we're sitting here, we play ball together when the Browns come back to town and in the dialogue at the luncheon. We've talked a lot about reconciliation. Now let's talk about reconstruction. Let's talk about owning some of the railroad train and some of the tracks so we can determine where the train stops. So, for example, today, when we meet later today with NASP, if we decide to look at the top 50 public corporations in Greater Cleveland and buy it, which Rainbow Push Wall Street intends to do in Cleveland with the 9th Street Group, we intend to buy $2,000 worth of stock in the top 50 companies in Cleveland. And we'll go to the next meeting as shareholders, not sharecroppers. We'll go to the meeting. We'll go there not as consumers and workers, but as investors and partners. And then we will want to ask the chairman of our company, let's look at our board of directors. And let's look at who is managing our pension funds. Let's look at our investment portfolio. Let's maximize our profits by green lining, red line zones. Let's look at our employees and our top 200 employees vertically and horizontally. Let's look at who are our vendors, who are our professional services, who are our lawyers, our ad agencies. We shall now focus on access to capital. We should focus on reconstruction. We should don't react, because what's different about this phase, Brother Otis, is that in politics, the tension never stops, because politics is always a zero-sum game. 435 Congress people, they're all white male. If 10 women win, you got 425, so there's a little gender dialogue. If 10 blacks and browns get involved, you got 10 less white males, so black, white, male, female, brown got to live together. And so it's the right thing, but it was always tension, because it was always a zero-sum game. But on the economic side, inclusion leads to growth. Investment leads to growth. So when that is this partition between downtown Cleveland and East Cleveland, when there's this partition between downtown and ghetto, barrio, or Appalachia, when there's a petition, there's mutual disadvantage. For those on the sunshine side of the petition, they develop but they can't grow. And those on the shady side can neither grow nor develop. And both miss the opportunity of a growing market. How can I put this? You put a seed in the ground, two seeds of equal strength. And you build a wall between them and you water them both. And one grows taller than the other. It's not a better seed. It is that the one that gets the most sunshine, the most, something called photosynthesis, the one that gets the sunshine grows taller and is sweeter and bears more fruit. When there's more fruit, everybody wins. And so when you have one that is withered and brown ground and can't grow, you end up paying for the undevelopment. And so in Ohio, we spend about $7,000 a year to educate a child and $50,000 a year for a jail because those over on the side of the wall where there's no sunshine don't grow tall enough to become socialized. So we pay for their antisocial behavior. Today, of those in the jails, 92% are functionally illiterate, 90% are high school dropouts, 80% in drugs on a nonviolent drug-related charge. Only 1 of 10 can get drug treatment. All 10 can get more drugs. They leave jail sicker and slicker and return quicker at a 75% recidivist rate. And so if you don't invest in Indonesia, you might miss some profit. But you will not pay for their undevelopment, their antisocial behavior. If you don't invest in Appalachia, you don't invest in East Cleveland, then you not only miss profit, you also pay for missing profit. So when you green line, red line America, everybody wins. After all, black and brown America spends $800 billion a year, and there's no third world market. But as much money as close as secure as, governments as stable as, underserved Americans with underutilized talent and untapped capital. Say we shall buy, Arnold, $2,000 worth of stock in the top 50 companies. We shall meet with TRW. We should meet with the top 50 companies and talk about, we want to grow and be your business partners. We shall challenge for the most 20 churches in this city. If we join 20 and 49 other markets, we want 100 churches. We want 20 churches and 50 markets, 1,000 churches, to start investment clubs. To begin to teach members to buy targeted stock, where members learn the language of the stock page. The difference between bear and bull market. Many of our members choose a bear lotto market over a bull market. They choose bear lotto over bull market because they don't know the difference between bull and bear. And that's a matter of good information. And say they have more confidence in the lottery than in the bull market. And they spend more money in the lottery than in the bull market. Say amen, somebody. And because they don't grow for lack of knowledge, for lack of good information. And since we got our most information, Reverend, on how to end slavery from the church pulpit and how to end the segregation, how to get the right to vote, why not now a massive economic education, economic growth movement? Because the gap between the rich and poor often is a gap of attitude. Why are we doing so well in football, basketball, and baseball? See, you've got a new stadium down the street. Every city I visit, there are at least 2 new buildings, a new ballpark and a new jail. That's not true in Cleveland, but most cities I go, it's at least 2 new buildings, a new ballpark, a new jail. And for the most part, the schools are unwired. Can't get E-rate. unwide schools, barbed wire jails, first-class jails, second-class schools. America deserves better than that. These are our children. We need not fear them. We need not fear them. We must love them. These are our children. When we came from Yugoslavia, we rescued 3 American youth with the help of God who were hailed as heroes and sheroes. We want to rescue children in Cleveland, in Cincinnati, in Appalachia. These are our children. Lastly, let's just talk money, market, and talent. Let's don't call it, let's just call it money, market, and talent. I have no fear of open competition without affirmative action on the even playing field. Affirmative action is because you're trying to offset negative action. If the playing field is even, you don't need it. When the team reports for practice in a few days, the coaches say, I'm looking for runners, blockers, tacklers, catchers, and passers. And 35 of you will stay and the others will go home. And why will there be no picket lines? Why will there be no protests about the end result of that process? Why is there no appeal for be sure we have at least 9 on the team? Why is it a moot question when it comes to football, basketball, baseball, track, and boxing? A hint, it's not genes. It's not blood. Why do the rejected stones do so well? Now, you know, it's harder to be a professional football player than to be a professional banker. Professional banker, you have a computer to help you, and if you can't figure it out, you cogitate, can't figure it out, consult with a classmate, can't figure it out, call a consultant in, can't figure it out, start playing with the computer. You got time to figure it out. But when you have people coming at you at 240, running 100, in 9.7, your motor cognitive skills must be extremely coordinated. When you come down that basketball court at full speed with a multiple of options that must make the right choice at the right second, leaping in, put a ball to a cylinder, you have maximum motor skill coordination. So those are ingenious acts. But why are these kids who say they can't read, they can't write, they can't count, they can't think, why are they so good at that which bankers can't do? Why are they the best at what governors can't do? Why are they the best at what senators and presidents can't do? Because whenever the playing field is even and the rules are public and the goals are clear, we can all get better. That's our challenge, even the playing field. Now, in baseball, we used to have 2 leagues, the white leagues and the black leagues. Now we have the major leagues. Because before 1947, it was not the major leagues. We don't know how major it was if Satchel Paige couldn't pitch. We don't know how major it was if Luke Easter couldn't get here until he was almost 40. We don't know how major it was if Jackie couldn't play until he was almost 30. It was 2 leagues, the white and the black league. One called itself major, it was minor too. Both of minor, they came together and they became the major leagues. But when the walls came down, then both got better. We thought football was some when Nagurski was running, and we saw Jim Brown, we said, no, this is a new game. We thought we saw some, we saw George Mike, and we saw Bill Russ, we said, oh, now we see basketball for everybody. Whenever we expand the pool to include all and leave none behind, we all get better. Lastly, this war is troubling. And yet it gives us the opportunity, lastly, to show the best of our courage and our morality. We seek the release of the 3 killed workers still held in Yugoslavia. We seek the release of the 13 Iranian Jews. We seek peace in Kosovo, where the Serbs have been driven out. The KLA is coming back in armed with allies, and so We now see a troubling scene where Russia has stepped in a gap, and politics like nature abhors vacuums, and they come back in saying, in effect, we are your friends, we were against bombing, we are your heroes, and so Russia now has a toehold. We are now playing in the shadows of a successful Russian military strategy at the airport. A war of unintended consequences. 1 week in, 1 week out, but became 80 days of bombing. Now a lifetime. As long as we've been South Korea, we'll be in Kosovo fighting, defending ourselves. Unintended consequences. Innocent people killed. Unintended consequences. Every bomb dropped $1 million. Every Tomahawk missile, $1.7 million. Unintended consequences. Russia has been re-empowered. The unintended consequences. We must now bargain with China for their vote. Will it cost us Tibet, Taiwan, human rights, spying? Unintended consequences. How do we get trapped like this? Maybe it was said best when David heard that Saul and Jonathan and his 2 brothers had been killed. And in his lamentation, he said, how the mighty have fallen. How do the mighty fall? Well, they fall when they think they're mighty, or when they think they're almighty. How do the mighty fall when they underestimate the opposition? How do the mighty fall when there are no checks and balances? How do the mighty fall when they reach for more power and forget the least of these? I urge us today, as we seek to educate all of our children, to study war no more, to build the one big tent, to do something more noble than winning, including something better than conquering, sharing, something better than responding, considering others. So Jesus said that 99 sheep showed up, and he said, well, where's my lost sheep? And I can hear the lead sheep saying, when you called, the rest of us came. 99 of us are here. We're the majority. We represent the most votes, the most sheep, the most skin, the most milk. See, that's good. There's enough of y'all to take care of each other. What about my lost sheep? Well, when you called, the rest of us came running, but maybe my lost sheep had a hearing defect. May have been abused by a step-parent. What about my lost sheep? Well, but you see, we're here. Well, it's enough of you. You're doing pretty good. You got your thing going. But what about the lost sheep? Well, you know, it could be lost because it had a hearing defect. Maybe it stepped on a piece of glass. We don't know what circumstances sometime come our way. It could have gotten kicked by a bigger sheep. I don't know why my sheep is lost. All I know is that it is my sheep. It may be black, it may be white, it may be gay. It's just lost. And I cannot rest until all my sheep, Yugoslavian, Kosovo, and Iran, and Cuba, and Libya, and China, and Appalachia, and Ozarks. I cannot rest till all of my sheep are protected. And so it is, you who are called upon yourselves, take care of yourselves. The sun is going down, and sheep are crying, and wolves are howling, and dogs are barking. I guess I'm not a good politician. I don't have my joy based upon my votes. I'm a good shepherd because I care for all of God's children. That's our challenge. It's the moral imperative. It will make America better and the world secure. Thank you very much.
I'll say a few things and then maybe you have a couple questions. May we have the first question, please?
While you're preparing for the question, since we're into the announcement mode, for those who want to stay in touch with us, we have a website, www.rainbowpush.org, www.rainbowpush.org. We'll have our national convention in Chicago, August 4 through 7. So those who are interested in this mobilization for peace and economic growth may be a part of that process in Chicago, sponsored by the Rainbow Push Coalition. Thank you.
Reverend Jackson, next year is going to be a big election for President and Congress. Are there any political goals that you have in mind for yourself? And do you have any plans to help anybody?
Well, I will help somebody. But I really made the decision not to run this year because I think the process has become too confining and maybe even corrupted by the campaign fundraising process. A one-year campaign of begging for money, $25 million at a minimum, a 10-day campaign front-loaded with California, New York, and Texas, and that with the burden of the media on issues of diversion is not the best way to spend my time the next year. We could not have gone to Belgrade to engage in that faith mission to gain the release of our captives had we been there under the suspicions and the cynicism of our political press. We couldn't really focus, as we must shift the focus now to a comprehensive health care plan and not just which candidate can smile the best. How silly for grown people to judge a leader by who has the most enticing smile, smiling faces. In the meantime, 1,500 Americans die a day from cancer. Smiling faces. Not far from here, in these hills, we're about to make a commitment to rebuild Yugoslavia with billions of dollars, but not to expand two-lane highways in Appalachia. Those issues, I'm convinced, must be raised outside of the narrow confines of this campaign. And so I hope this helps set the priorities for year 2000. July 6th, 7th, and 8th, President Clinton is taking a 3-day tour across America, including Appalachia, called New Markets Initiative. That comes out of our Rainbow Push Wall Street to Appalachia to the Delta Conference. So we're helping to set the agenda without having to run for the office.
Reverend Jackson, I'm very happy to have this opportunity to commend you and the members of your religious team for having the will and the courage to travel and risk your lives to rescue the 3 American soldiers. And it's my hope that you'll be successful in your next rescue attempt and with your new venture. I'd like to call your attention to the plight of so many American citizens and others who are being held as political prisoners by the United States, particularly in the case of Mumia Abu-Jamal. Many people are concerned about that. Will you please tell us what you're doing, or if you have started anything yet, and what do you have in mind for helping out the United Nations before it falls?
When you think about the high risk of well-intentioned, self-righteous people killing people, Jesus was killed as an act of capital punishment. I'm sure the religious leaders that condemned him in that first trial that night in the name of God, and those political leaders who heard the cries of the masses thought they were doing the right thing, but they were so wrong. Too often the innocent do suffer. And the risk of killing innocent people is too great a risk to take. Secondly, we keep sending the message that revenge is resolution, and therefore killing solves the problem. And I wonder why our children embrace that philosophy. You just say it so often nowadays as an African proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. That's true, but sick villages raise sick children, and well villages raise well children, and violent villages raise violent children. We are as blessed as we are, as wonderful as we are, the most violent nation on earth. We do make the most bullets, and we shoot them. We do make the most guns, and we fire them. We make the most bombs, and we drop them. Somehow, we do not think that translates to our children. And we keep missing signals. Black kids are shooting each other up in the ghetto, or brown kids in the barrio. We say something wrong with their mama. They have sex too young or don't love Jesus or something. But white kids shoot each other up in Colorado and Pearl, Mississippi, and Paducah. We say something wrong with the law. Something wrong with the structure. The fact is, whether black, brown, or white, these children were not born violent. They're bred that way. It's a cultural thing, not a race thing. It's a cultural thing. Along that line of one set of rules, what disturbs me today to a point of indescribable pain. We brought those 3 soldiers out of Belgrade. The American and the Western press just ran over us telling that story. It was a story worth telling. But I went back to Togo the next week, negotiated a peacekeeping deal between the rough Revolutionary United Front and Sierra Leone, a peace deal, and that didn't make local radio. The fact is, more people have been expelled from Sierra Leone than Kosovo. More killed, 700,000. Sierra Leone, a country where their soldiers fought alongside us in World War I and II, and a democracy. We offered to them 15 million for humanitarian aid. We offered to Yugoslavia reconstruction by the billions. How unfair it is to look at Kosovo and Sierra Leone side by side. And every day you see, and our hearts tremble, you see, Milosevic killed 20 people, and they died like this, and they killed 90 people, and it's a tragedy. But 9,000 were killed in Sierra Leone in January alone. Don't African people count? Is not the 3/5 human strategy over? All we want, whether they are Iranian Jews, or whether they are Kosovarians, or Serbians, or Sierra Leoneans, let's embrace the United Nations, international law, and let's measure human rights by one yardstick. And that way we get our moral authority.
Reverend Jackson, can you set the record straight? In the June issue of Fortune magazine, it implied that your Wall Street influence is for sale. Is there a price?
Every building downtown is for sale. Well, I don't think that was the implication. It said we're shaking the money tree. And that's true. We intend to shake the money tree. Legally, legitimately. And when we shake the tree, more people have more outputs, more energy, more growth. When AT&T decided to let Blaylock be a co-manager, the first reaction was they did it because we challenged them. We had a right to be a co-manager, and he was qualified. And when Bloomberg ran their report, they said of the 6 co-managers, the one who brought the most original ideas and energy to it was Blaylock. So it was like letting Jackie Robinson into baseball. The game got better. It didn't get weaker. And then after AT&T did it, then PepsiCo did it with Udall, and it's getting bigger. And then after that happened, then SBC and Meritech get a deal with Chester Davenport. We challenged them, said, if you're going to merge, and we use telephones, and we can transact money, we want an opportunity. And they assumed, based upon cultural blinders, that there were no players on the other side of the partition. And of course, Chester has a background that would not impress them. He came from a family of 11 down in rural Georgia. His parents never had the right to vote, never made over $7 a week. He was the First African-American at the University of Georgia Law School, and he got out of there with honors and kept moving up. And when he walked in the room, he had just sold in viral tests at $670 million, and then it occurred to them that Chester's net worth was greater than the people he was negotiating with. And they said, well, it's 1.7 billion, so it's kind of high. He said, well, he had 19 people. He had his team with him. They said, no, it's an error. It's a $2.1 billion deal. He said, well, look, let's go to 2.1. They said, well, but let's ask St. Louis. It's 3.4. He said, well, 3.4. And so he has the deal. And so the fact of the matter is, we do not have on Wall Street a talent deficit. It's an opportunity deficit. We could play baseball before 1947. We could use a toilet downtown before 1964. We can have money before 1999. And the good news is when there's more money, there's more growth. Today, ball players are not afraid to compete on an even playing field, black and white. So bankers shouldn't be afraid. Investment bankers should not be afraid. Venture capitalists should not be afraid. You know what it means when you look at Harlem on the upside of Manhattan without one car dealership? Those are cultural blinders. When they go out of New York from Wall Street to teach Russians how to be capitalists, they got to go through Bed-Stuy or Queens or Harlem to get to the airport. And there's no place in Russia with as much money as secure as close as Bed-Stuy, Queens, or Harlem. Those are cultural blinders. We come to bring sight to the blind and set the captive free.
Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we've been listening to the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Thank you very much, Reverend Jackson. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This forum is adjourned.